You're listening to Tiny Little Victories with your host, Jennifer Kite-Powell. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or check out our website for every episode at www.tinylittlevictoriespodcast.com. Hey friends, it's Jennifer Kite-Powell, the host of Tiny Little Victories. And before I get into this next episode called For the Love of FemTech, I want to introduce our guest because she has a resume / CV that's like 3 living rooms long. Now, it's not just a CV that has a bunch of stuff on it. She's been building up towards the moment where she started this company in Silicon Valley, doing a lot of things at the very beginning of a market called UX design. It's a user experience design. And we're going to read off a little bit of her street cred because it's mind-boggling to me. She has created a company from all of these years of being at the very beginning of the user experience on the web. And so let's just shout out a little bit about all the things she's done. Maybe you'll guess who she is. I don't know. She's pretty popular. She's a digital health innovator. We love digital health. She's a top designer in technology. She's the founder of a company called Guidea and the accelerator called FemTech, which, by the way, was sort of happened by accident. And she's also a FemTech angel investor. Now, I'm hearing a lot of fem words in there. And I know sometimes when you think of fem stuff, maybe we think of fembots from the Austin Powers series. But you know, it's not like that. It's not fembots that are shooting bullets out of their pretty pink lacy bras. This is about technology that affects women's health. This is about technology that helps with endometriosis or technology that looks at the pelvic wall. So anything related to females and the technology around that. Now, FemTech is a very big industry. It's growing quickly. However, only 3% of FemTech companies get funding. So there's a huge disparity where it's growing like mad fast and it's just not getting the funding that it needs. So this woman, Theresa Neil, has decided to use her expertise in user design from her very successful company called Guidea to donate $1 million worth of user design experience to FemTech companies in the accelerator that she started called FemTech. So we're going to get into that. But I just want you to listen for a minute to some of the things that she's been doing for the past 20 years in Silicon Valley before user experience was even a thing. Okay, let's stop for a minute. Listen to this. She's from Texas, so we're going to give her big claps for that. She was a UX research and design partner at Johnson & Johnson. She was a UX research and design partner at MasterCard. She's been a UX research and strategy partner at Intel. She was a UX design and strategy partner at IBM. She has been a UX and strategy partner at Walmart, at Nestle Purina North America, at Humana, at Dell Technologies, at eBay, at Bloomberg, at PayPal for 9 years back in 2008, at Honeywell, at Pearson, at Cloudera, at a ton of other places like AT&T and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, at Johns Hopkins. I mean, the list can go on and on. So here's this woman, by the way, also Adobe, that has created a company, Guidea, that takes UX design and helps other companies create better experiences for their customers and their products, and has created an accelerator. Okay, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of stuff that she's been doing. And what she's going to tell us today, that she had no idea that by opening up and creating this accelerator called FemTech, that it would have been so popular so fast and so full of amazing companies from all over the world that were coming there to look for expertise. Now, one of the things that underpins the FemTech companies that Theresa is talking about is the fact that they are all very busy women who have careers all in their own. They're doctors, they're scientists, they're academics, and they had come up with solutions to some of these issues for women's health. And while they're being a doctor delivering babies or being an academic teaching classes, they're like, oh, I have this great idea to solve this problem. So we're going to talk about how these companies are being led by some very top minds from around the world, female minds from around the world. And at the same time, they're creating companies that will potentially change women's health issues. So, on that note, stay tuned for a very exciting conversation with Theresa Neil, the founder of Guidea and the founder of Femovate. Hey, everybody, welcome to this next episode of Tiny Little Victories with your host, me, Jennifer Kite-Powell. I am here today with a very interesting woman. Now, before I say her name, I'm going to give her a lot of send-ups, and she's going to sit there and take all the compliments quietly, right? Maybe not. Maybe she'll be giggling in the background. I don't know. Her name is Theresa Neil. She is a digital health innovator. She's a top designer in tech. She founded a company called Guidea. Am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
Cool. And Femovate, which is an interesting concept we're going to talk about today. And she's also a FemTech angel investor. Welcome to the show, Theresa.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you're here because you are a modern day hero of mine after I met you through Forbes and wrote a story about what you were doing because you have been donating about $1 million worth of UX design to femtech companies. And that is so fascinating to me. So I wanted to start with that because why, what was your motivation for doing this?
It's a really good question, and I have to admit that it was not planned at all. It was kind of
Oh,
a surprise. So in 2022, in May of 2022, I had this idea that after 17, 18 years of designing tech for large enterprise companies and startups, that we were traditionally working with male founders and
yeah.
male led companies. And I wanted to create a program to support women in tech. And so I thought we would
Mm.
create this itty bitty, teeny tiny program where we would do a call for applicants of, at first we were thinking just female founders, and then we decided we would tighten that up a little bit to be feminine founders. That way we could get kind of the double
Mm. Yeah.
female
Yeah.
founders, or predominantly female founders.
Yeah.
Innovate in women's health. We're like, okay, that'll be good. So I was like, well, we'll do a call for applications and we'll take a couple of early stage startups and provide them with at cost or so deeply discounted services or pro bono
Yeah.
services to help them, get their products to market, get them commercialized, get them in front of patients and providers, or get them out into the app store. And so we did a call for applications, and we had almost 100 founders around the globe apply. So this is early stage, seed series, pre-seed, series A
Hmm.
companies apply. And once we started interviewing all these applicants, we realized the caliber of these founders was just
Off
off
the
the
charts.
charts, off the charts.
Yeah.
And I have mentored for many accelerators,
Yeah.
Techstars, Mass Challenge, Capital Factory, they're in Texas, all these different ones. They get great candidates. I was really surprised with these candidates. So
But why were you surprised? What surprised you? Because you're a woman in tech. So was it that there were so many of them or that they were so outstanding with their street cred in terms of who they were that they had been flying under the radar for a while? Is that why you were surprised?
I think I was surprised mostly at what so many of these founders were judged struggling. So many of them
Mm.
are practitioners. So they're actively delivering babies every week or doing physical therapy,
Oh, I see.
or
Wow.
they're like really well respected academic researchers, or they're biotech engineers who are creating their own, pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And that's not
So
enough.
you never hear about these stories, though. I mean, like, this is so amazing. You just went from somebody delivering babies to academic researchers to creating their own, like, you know, pharmaceuticals. And that's pretty impressive, sort of off the charts impressive.
Yeah, but they don't stop with that. They're like, and I realized there was a problem, so I've created a tech company. Remember, these aren't tech people,
Wow.
right? These are like
Yeah, right,
medical people,
right.
and they're like, not all of them, but they like a
In general.
tech company, and I've made this amazing thing, and I'm getting literally no support for it.
Yeah,
And that combined with my brand new understanding after starting the program of how um, bad women's health is, at least in the US.
yeah. I mean, I'm laughing because I'm laughing at how bad it is, like with the state of it, like not laughing at you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's truly depressing. So it was this combination of talking to almost 100 founders where you have these moments of elation of like, oh my gosh, you're just such an amazing entrepreneur and
Mm.
pioneer in this space. And then you're hearing the sort of like what they're trying to solve, and you're like, you're kidding me. There's been no innovation in like endometriosis screening,
Yeah.
postpartum hemorrhage detection, or any of these like really important
Yeah, yeah,
things, incontinence, exams during labor. There's been no innovation in hundreds of years. So
yeah,
we were super inspired by that. And we couldn't pick just two or three companies. We ended up picking
yeah.
30 companies.
So so you opened for the first time this itty bitty little thing you wanted to do, and then these companies just kept pouring in, and you ended up with 30 the first time that you guys had decided were worthy of the support. Is that right? 30 companies. What?
Exactly. So quite a huge number. And we, like I said, this was kind of a surprise to us too, as it was to them.
Yeah.
And I thank all of those early teams for their patience, because we were
Mhm.
not planning on, taking in 30 companies at once. We didn't have the
Right.
infrastructure set up yet. So it was a
Yeah.
little bit of fly by the seat of our pants, and started slotting in the teams and figuring out exactly what
Interesting.
each team needed. So we had to create kind of bespoke projects for each one. And because these are early stage startups, none of them really followed.
Mhm.
Well, actually, all of them follow kind of the normal startup model, which is pivot, pivot, pivot.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Also,
Because
that
we're
I think
straightforward.
that early startup models also, and I'll say this, and you don't have to say it, but is also heavily guided by the male-dominated, I think, investor industry, the startup industry. And I think, how would you? I mean, statistically, only 3% of the 2,728, yes, that's an exact number from an article, of the health deals since 2011 were actually focused on women's health. I mean, and a majority of that funding went to reproductive health, but not even to femtech, not even to companies, run or developed or created by women. So yet here you have like these, like you said, these brilliant women. Oh, by the way, we're starting a company, and 80% of the healthcare decisions are made by women in the US, and yet this industry is not getting the funding, let alone the women creating these startups aren't getting the funding. That's to me like a huge. Then no wonder why you had 30 people applying, 30 companies in there, more than 30.
Yeah, I wish we could have helped everybody. It's
Yeah.
dramatically underfunded.
Yeah. It's
If
crazy.
I do want to cast a little bit of light onto those numbers.
Okay.
When we think about the amount of money, or the amount of investment going into digital health, and
Yeah.
going into women's health, it's not to say that 97% is going into men's health.
True, 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 true.
A lot
Yeah.
of solutions, digital health solutions that are being invested in and that are in the market are, all genders. However, um, think it's starting to come to light that because women have not been included in research, or just more recently have been in the past 30 years been included in pharma research, that when you're designing for
Interesting.
all genders, what you're really mostly doing is design generally
Just
Asian.
generally. Okay. Well,
And
that makes sense.
it is good to like kind of keep your eye on the number of like it is such a small percent going into women's health.
Yeah.
And when we're looking at women's health, it's generally around like maternal health. We really, really need to shift
Yeah.
numbers. And that's where we thought we could help. We're like, we can bring our expertise in med tech, health tech,
Yeah.
femtech, and digital health,
Yeah.
help these companies move farther, faster, and get in
Mm.
front of, or when they get in front of investors or are put forward for grants,
They're already got a step ahead. They're already a little more prepared.
that they look like they already know what they're doing from the subject matter expertise side.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't have somebody polishing or putting best practices around, like this is how you design a healthcare provider portal, or this is how you design something for a patient, their good ideas weren't necessarily always shining through the way that they kind of need to in order to get those
Yeah.
investment or the grants. And so that's where we could accelerate their
Yeah.
and basically get them there faster, get them there for less investment, mitigate some of the risk around going down the wrong path, because there's already a bunch of best practices that we've established
Yeah.
in the space. So just like getting folks on board with that and rapidly putting that forward and helping them get into clinical trials or pilot programs or MVP.
Yeah. You're putting the gas pedal down on the industry. And after this first year with these 30 companies that we're in, you've moved on to year 2, right? So you're in year 2 and this program's still going. As this now that you got the word out with those first 30, like what was the second batch like? The second group of people that came into Femovate.
Oh my gosh, this was so exciting. So we didn't have, we thought I had a moment of trepidation where I'm like, there's only like not even 2,000 companies in tech. What if they all applied the first time?
Right, right.
And we don't get any applicants. But then
Yeah.
like what we learned is there's like 18, I don't know, 20 sub verticals in femtech. And what I mean by that,
Mm. What?
either
That's a
in
lot.
vaginal health, breast
Oh,
health,
yeah.
mental health,
Yeah.
mental health. So like all these different categories. And I was like, no, there's got to be more people innovating out there. So we
Yeah.
opened up applications this year, and we got 130 new applications.
Mm. Mm-mm. Wow. Wow. That's so, I mean, I think, feel like, do you feel like you've created like a monster in a way, in a good way that you can't control? Or do you feel like this is year 2 and you're already achieving numbers that most young accelerators can't even get to at the time? And sometimes I see even larger accelerators just sort of lip syncing their way through some of this, like how we help startups, but literally you've just have them coming in and you're giving them, donating these services that helps them, like you said, maybe get to a clinical trial. Like that's really unique in the world of, can we call you an accelerator or an incubator? I mean, what are you actually calling yourself here? Because I feel like it's more like you guys are seriously action oriented, where I feel like a lot of other accelerators are here's a space, do your thing, bye.
Yeah, we've kind of gone back and forth on this because we are different. Well, frankly, we haven't had a lot of time to think about it.
I mean, it's just
Right.
run with scissors, run with some golden goose sneakers. We're out of here.
Yeah, I mean, with working with this scale of companies at a time, and it's not just the 30 that we pull into the program. People reach out all the time asking for help, so we're constantly fielding questions throughout the year from people
Wow.
who missed the application, or they're coming through from another accelerator program like FemTech Lab or
Mm-hmm.
Tech Forever. Those folks need help too. And if they have an innovative solution, we want to provide support. So sometimes it's even more than 30 teams that we're helping. But we gave it 5 whole minutes of thought. And unlike an accelerator or incubator, we're not providing all the services. Like
Yeah.
we can't help you pick a lawyer, and we can't do all of your branding work, and we can't take care of
Yeah.
accounting, how to be a good manager, how to make great
Yeah.
offers, right? We're not doing all the things,
Right.
but we're also not sourcing a bunch of unpaid mentors and
Yes.
building
I
our
was,
program.
yes. Yes. I wish, where's my clap sound? Because I definitely feel, I love, you know what? I'll save my clap sound for another time. But yes, 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 what you're saying.
Yeah, we're actually using our paid team members, so our
Mm.
idea researchers and designers, to do work that the startups would either otherwise like not be able to do,
Hmm.
or they would be paying a firm or agency or grad student or somebody from
Yeah,
Beacons to
that's
do
part of the,
people.
but that's part of the specialty in a way because, why do you have to do all the things? I think that's part of the problem these days is everyone's doing all the things and other things are suffering.
And it turns out we actually have a lot more to offer than I initially thought we did.
I love this. We didn't know it was going to work. We didn't know it was going to be this big. Oh, we have so much more to offer. I love that.
Yeah, we've been able to connect these startup founders, even ones that maybe weren't selected this year for the program. We've been able to connect people with potential investors, with good grant writers, with
Oh, that's amazing.
development teams who we know and trust for their actual software development or their product design, their physical product design, like they're making devices. We've also been able to connect multiple startups with each other
Oh, that's
because,
probably a big thing, creating the true ecosystem to share and to bounce ideas off. And if you're stuck, having someone to unstuck you in a way.
yeah, and I think that's one of the big values. Karen Dahlstrom, who's our program manager for Femovate, has been advocating for quite a while now that we build out a community of the teams that are participating. And we just haven't had the opportunity yet. But we do make connections and introductions between the different teams so they can support each other or even partner together. But this is a beautiful time in FemTech
Mm,
because so many of the people, so many of these founders and advocates and investors at this early stage are here because they're passionate about health equity and they're passionate about women's health innovation. And they have these lived experiences, and that's driving. And by lived experiences, I mean maybe they've had endometriosis and struggled
yeah.
10
Yeah.
years before getting diagnosis, or they've lost a
Yeah.
loved one to ovarian cancer. Um, and it's really fueling this growth. But also, when I say it's like a lovely time, people are so kind to each other, and they are so,
That's really nice.
yeah, and they're really open to working with each other. And so I don't hear a lot of the competition that you might hear of
Yeah.
like fintech,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Or but
Totally. Yeah.
it's more
But
like,
is that because it's more okay, I'm just going to say it. Is that because it's more female because females are driving it, or is it because this industry, health tech, femtech, health equity is lends itself to more compassion in the business, so to speak?
I don't know. It could be either one of those. I really feel like
Mm,
it's a stage in the growth of the industry where
okay.
everybody's kind of fighting the same fight,
Yeah.
and
Oh, solidarity.
a little solidarity. And also, it's kind of hard to like hang out in a silo and be like, I'm the only one who's figured out how to deal with hormone
No,
therapy.
it's so
There's
true.
all
You
these
can't
other,
create, yeah.
yeah, early stage innovators.
And also, I think one of the things you mentioned before was that you talked a lot about taboos as well, taboos around FemTech. And do you think that this idea of like collaborating, being supportive, is this part of eliminating some of those taboos where people feel that they're more comfortable if they understand that it's okay to talk about menopause, menstruation, pelvic health, that sort of thing? Because is that just on the outside of the taboos, or is creating a supportive environment helping to sort of eliminate, break down some of those barriers?
That's a really good question. As soon
Ooh.
as you fall into femtech,
Yeah.
or at least my experience and what I'm seeing from people who fall into femtech, All of a
Yeah.
sudden, you go from not really, unless you're coming from the medical field, you go from not really
Mhm.
talking about and things which are traditionally
Yeah.
considered.
Politically as well, you can't. Problem. You have people in the Senate and House floor that are 83-year-old white guys. They don't even probably know. Sorry, but a bleeping dildo looks like. So how can you talk about women's health and reproductive rights if you can't get a body of people to actually feel comfortable talking about women's health issues? Like hormone health and that sort of thing.
Exactly. But once you fall in, then all of a sudden it's like you're talking about vaginas all day long. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I will note that although I am much more comfortable with that now, like night and day
Hmm.
when we
Really?
started this. Oh yeah, because I wasn't a women's health advocate before we started this program.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to put on some. I need some sounds of brakes, like slamming on the brakes here. You weren't, but how did you make the pivot? Like, I'm making a little fake white line to a whole nother story over here, but yeah, we're gonna stop for a sec. How? Why? What?
Well, okay, so go back to 2022 when we first opened up the program, and we spent so Karen and myself spent 3 weeks interviewing all of the founders who were applying, or the vast majority of the founders who were applying. And so we were on the phone with founders from like 5 a.m. to sometimes 8 or 9 o'clock at night because we had applicants from around the globe and we were trying to work within their schedules. And on it, I was 45 at the time. I had 3 kids, and I had
So
no
you've had a
idea.
lot of stuff with administration and pelvic health.
You would think, but I
You
had
have three
no idea
kids.
how little I knew about my body. Like
What?
I really, I was like, "There's 3 holes." No,
Yeah, right, exactly. You know what, though? I love that you're saying this because I believe this is really very true. We know so little about our bodies. I think that this is a really salient conversation to have. Like, yes, you've had 3 kids, so you've been to that whole process of being pregnant, of like all the things that can happen, which is a miracle in a way. People actually give birth, and yet you didn't have that tie to what was really going on. I find that fascinating, Teresa.
yeah, it was huge. It was like a crash course in female anatomy, health,
Yeah.
health. I mean, really, I did not know anything about the pelvic floor in June of 2022. I
I'm not even
wrote a
sure the term
protocol.
pelvic. I'm not even sure the term pelvic floor was in existence 10 years ago. I'm not even sure. So,
Yeah, so once I started to learn, I was like, oh my goodness, this is really, really underrepresented. But once you fall in
yeah.
and you start talking about it all the time, it
Yeah.
you actually, or at least I have to sometimes remember to roll to normal business speak when I'm
Yeah.
working with our day-to-day clients who aren't
Mm.
in women's health. It may not be in health at all, right? So
Yeah.
if we're talking about like network security, they really don't.
Yeah. They don't want to hear about the
Yeah,
pelvic floor.
they
Yeah.
don't want to hear my analogy about like a really compelling AI product that we built in this space that had something to do with uterine health. You can
Yeah.
you can see the people on the call like visibly,
Shaken.
when I try to pull up that analogy. Whereas I have to say,
Wow.
a lot of folks in the health field love to hear analogous stories from other industries
Yeah.
where we've been able to
But
use AI.
in many ways, I think the more you talk about it, the more commonplace, because I do think that women's issues are often shoved under the table. Like menopause is one great place where, you weren't allowed to talk about it. There's really no medication for it, just get these hormones. And I think the more people come sort of out of the closet on these issues that affect so many, that are just part of being a woman, just how the body is composed, hopefully could, reduce some of those uncomfortable grimaces in the boardroom by these people.
I agree. I think there's a long way to go. And
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
things that I ran into with the launch in 2022 was I reached out to my existing network in the tech field, which is predominantly male industry, and asked for help.
Yeah.
So, hey, share this with other people in your network if you know of anybody that's innovating in this space. And it might just be that they didn't have a lot of folks in their, a lot of female tech founders in women's health in their network. But this network I have, we spent 20 years developing it. These are folks.
Yeah.
We wrote books at the same time. We had O'Reilly as a publisher at the same time. We've gone to
Mm.
conferences and been speakers together. We've, in some cases, I've employed their kids as interns when they graduate. And man, I got to tell you, it was crickets from almost everyone.
It's so sad.
Now there are a few folks that really hopped in and helped, and have
What
been
about now? What
really supportive.
about now? Since you've started the company and had Femovate, like, are these people coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, by the way, Theresa, I meant to introduce you to this person"?
We have a few advocates and champions, but still, it's not it.
Ah,
If I had started a thing for FinTech or EdTech,
yeah,
or
it'd
even
be a whole different.
unrelated to, or not specific to women's health, there
Mhm.
would
Okay, so this comes back to again the taboo we were talking about. Like,
have been.
how is it that we can talk about adult tech sex toys and we cannot talk about women's health issues? FemTech.
Well, I have theories on this. One of them
I'm
is
ready. I'm
if
ready. Give me all your theories.
if I didn't know my body very well, pretty educated, have an MBA, like I said, because maybe a lot of people don't know their body or about women's bodies enough to talk about
Yeah.
it, right? Like if
Yeah.
you don't have a high degree of confidence around the terminology, the anatomy, then it'd be kind of awkward to talk about it because you look dumb if you're not using the right words. Like
Yeah.
what's the difference between pelvic health and vaginal health?
Hmm.
What if I say the wrong thing, even though I'm trying to help? So maybe there's like there's an education and maybe a terminology gap. I also wonder specifically in the topic of menopause or anything about our bodies degrading, right? Like so
Yeah. Yeah.
incontinence. And to anybody who's suffering from
Yeah.
incontinence, I'm not saying your body's degrading. Okay, this is just a
Well,
natural thing.
it's breaking down. It is breaking down. Your body is breaking down. That's a fact.
But we don't like anything that has that aging component to it or could be
Yeah. We
perceived as.
don't like that. We get uncomfortable.
I think that might be part of it too, and it's not just
Yeah.
about women's body. I don't think a lot of people are super comfortable talking about aging, like
Yeah,
our
no, I agree. I think that's part of I think people aren't I think we're not comfortable talking about aging, and I think you can see that in how women and men to a large extent are looking at how to augment their bodies to prevent the aging, right? So you see, there's like so many more med spas and, sculpting and cool sculpting and like all of these things to augment the body, the corporal sleeve, so to speak, and yet so little introspective look in, ways that incontinence is part of aging, but there are things that you can do to address part of that incontinence. Instead of talking about it, we just sort of sweep it under the carpet, I think.
body.
And so, but that's still part of the taboo then. The taboo is that we are uncomfortable talking about bodily fluids or things that are happening inside of our bodies. Partially, you think because we don't understand, or it's still a taboo.
Yeah, I think women's bodies are taboo. Aging is
Mm-hmm.
taboo. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Bodily fluids are not really something that everybody's comfortable talking about.
No, unless it's on a porn channel, and then they're all okay with it. Like this is like the balance between. Yeah, I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole, but I'll save that for another episode. Um, and so, do you think femtech is a part of health tech? Because is that also part of like how are you defining femtech?
I'm defining femtech as medtech, health tech, or digital health solutions
Okay.
that are centered around women's health or for the health of women. And so I've noticed that people are starting to make a distinction there. So if we talk about
Yeah, me too.
uterine,
Yeah.
yeah, if we talk about like uterine health, okay, well, women or people who are assigned female.
Yeah. Yeah.
But cancer is not women's health, but women can have cancer. And so it's when
Mhm.
we think about femtech, we might be saying, okay, this may be technology that's used for removing uterine fibroids, which would be specific to women or people assigned female at birth.
Yeah.
However, a oncology solution can also be femtech if they're looking at how to customize that solution with women in mind, right? So there may
Right.
be a solution for and not even cancers that are exclusive to women.
Yeah.
We
But
and
that makes sense.
yeah, so that's I think that umbrella works. For our program, for Femivate, in our
Mhm.
definition of femtech, when companies apply, in order for them to get to the program, they have to have a tech component. And their tech component cannot be their
Okay.
website where they're selling things. To us, that's not a tech. We're not here to help people. No shade on all the companies who are doing this, but we're not
Yeah, totally.
companies
Yeah.
successful marketplaces
Yeah.
or shops to sell services. So we're really wanting to work.
You're talking about foundational technology.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so I love it that we're getting to the bottom of this. I love your true confessions here about how little you knew. So basically, since 2022, now you have really become this women's health equity femtech forward advocate, and that's only 2 years. Like you have really been making the grounds. If you look at all the places you've been speaking, the podcasts you've been on, the things you've been saying and doing, 2 years is a very short time to have risen to such a voice that you are, Theresa, in this field. And is that at all shocking to you, or is that possibly part of a very proud moment? Maybe both.
It's part of a very proud moment. I will say I'm not shocked because I consciously put effort into it and built off of
Yeah.
the portfolio we already had and the connection.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I'm not new to technology. And
But you're new to this health side,
yeah,
this health tech side. Yeah.
yeah. And the idea has a substantial health tech portfolio. We have
Yeah.
many biopharma companies in our portfolio, and Humana and Johnson and Cigna, all these great partners that we've worked with. So basically, we could, build off of that. If I'd been starting from scratch as,
Yeah.
a new UX designer or a young agency, I mean, I just don't think we would.
Yeah.
We'd still be building.
Yeah, and I think we could take a little U-turn here because we haven't really talked about Gaidia, but this is almost a 20-year-old company now. And you guys are made up of 20 designers and researchers, and you work on, innovating with using UX research, about launching products with UX to audiences, and activating internal teams to become UX leaders. Like you're really, like you said, you've been doing this for a while. So, um, I love that Gaidia was founded almost 20 years ago by women-led teams, and you've made some very huge inroads and success into some, like you said, some very big health brands, I guess I would call them. And how, in your opinion, do you feel like if you were to do that today, do you think you would be where you are, or do you think you hit like the sweet spot almost 20 years ago in creating Gaidia? Because it was really enlightening to me and very inspiring to see such a strong female-led company in this space, because usually it's always like rah 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 men and UX, and this is just like the Wonder Woman force of UX design. So do you think that things would have been different for you, 18 to 20 years ago, starting this company than they would be today?
Totally. We were, before I started Gaidia, it was very early in the UX.
I see that from your background. Yeah, like
So
really early.
yeah, I just happened to be working as a Java developer. And I met my good friend and mentor, Bill Scott, who had a background in design, was also a brilliant engineer. And he built out the UX team at Sabre, the airline company that we were working with.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
learned all of these different things from him right at the time that UX was being coined. And so having a developer And
Yeah, that's like
there
back in
was
2001.
I think it was 2001. It
Yeah,
really allowed us,
2001. Yeah.
yeah, it really gave us, or gave me the opportunity to get my fingers in all the important things that were going to
Mhm.
be coming up. So,
Yeah.
working for the airline, I got to work on mobile apps before we had the smartphones. I got to work on
Yeah.
these things that did like eye scanning and optical character recognition. I got to design for big mounted displays up on the wall. I got to do all of the early days web work before Web 2.0.
I love that. The early days web work. You were there at the beginning of before the beginning.
Oh, wait, not that far back. No, I guess I was.
Yeah, I mean, but that's
Was,
really
yeah,
some people do go back. You think you were, sorry, just face it, you were. And that
was,
by that you were. And that timeline I'm talking about when we were all considering about coming online and nobody knew what the F to do,
yeah.
right? Because nobody knew how you took something that you just could user experience. So you were at the beginning of the term of that term. And I'm going to let you finish, but going through your experience, you're right. Sabre, you worked for PBS being a user experience consultant. Like the amount of consultancy you were in at the beginning of the advent of UX and how it changed our experiences online from Adobe to IBM to Audi to, let's see, a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. You literally have been in every single market, every single market.
Yeah, we have.
PayPal, Bloomberg. Come on, Dell. Come on, you guys. Are you hearing this? Humana, Purina. I mean, Walmart. That's everybody.
I will share a proud moment is a couple years ago, I looked and I realized that we had worked for 20 of the Fortune 100. Many
Yeah,
of those
that's
for
I'd be putting that on my LinkedIn profile. Yeah,
many of those for numerous years, and it was entirely based off of happy client referrals. We didn't have,
that's amazing.
so that's one of the really really proud moments. And I
Yeah.
thought about that a lot in creating the program because
Hmm.
one of the reasons Idea has been successful is the timing of the creation of the company, getting in UX really early. But also, I had a bunch of really strong champions. So my mentor, Bill Scott, um, yay, champions! Luke Wroblewski, who's a writer and great designer. Some people know him as Luke W. Jared Spool, lots of different folks out there in the early days introduced me to companies, helped us, secure early projects. One of the things that catapulted us towards success was when the um, when the iPhone came out. We were engaged by a previous manager of mine from Sabre, Damon Hoagland, to design, code, and launch the first PayPal iPhone experience, which we did in 30
Wow.
days. But that
What?
led to,
Okay.
yeah, right.
Woohoo.
That led to, I think, an 8-year, maybe 10-year relationship working with PayPal. And that was a long time ago. And all those folks that we worked with early
Yeah.
days have branched out, built their own companies, called us back, brought us in for more work. So
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I mean when you're at the beginning of something, you're all together and then you march off to other places and then you all come back and help each other and keep adding branches to the idea tree. And then here you are.
my hope for FemTech is that the same thing happens. Like these 2,000 people, founders
Mhm.
of, these early FemTech companies do the same thing, right? Like we're all in this early days together, building. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not as early as like Idaton and the folks that and since she coined the term and did some
Yeah.
very earliest apps. But this next round, I hope
Yeah.
all of us are going to learn together. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to some of these companies are going to sink, some of them are going to
Yeah.
swim, and then there'll be that next wave of
I love that. I think that's a great way to end the show when you talk about we're all in this together. It's sort of that halt and catch fire moment, right? That that moment where you were at the beginning of something and then now you're at the beginning of something again and you're creating this ecosystem that will continue to grow and like over time in the next 20 years. So big, I'm not going to use the cheering again, but very big applause for you. And is there anything before we go? Is there anything that, like, off the top of your head, you want any advice you want to give to anybody out there who's thinking of, you know, of starting something in femtech? There must be maybe somebody listening or somebody that knows somebody. What's your Theresa Neil advice for someone starting out in this field?
We have a lot of people reach out saying, I have an idea and I want to do some design. And I am super excited for everybody out there having an idea. The next step after having an idea is not going and doing design. I'd love if you're pondering an idea, if you're excited about it, you're seeing something that's broken in the system, you went into your provider and had a terrible experience, you're like, this needs to be fixed. And you read online and you hear other people complaining. What I'd love for you to do is go out and do a competitive analysis and see who else is already trying to fix this or who else may already be fixing it, and uh, and help them, right? If you do not, if your idea is not unique, or have a clear, competitive differentiation from other groups that are already doing this, perhaps reach out to them and see how you can help them. Because a lot of these early stage femtech companies need help, right? Because we're not funded yet. And so,
Yeah, I love that. Just go help. See something and go help.
because you're going to learn so much about
Yeah.
startup, about that domain you're interested in and want to, make a difference in. And then you might, walk away from that in a year and be like, yeah, I actually do have a differentiating idea. I want to tackle this from a different angle. But a lot of
Hmm.
folks do reach out and they're like, I'm ready to do this design work. And I was like, there's 28 other companies doing this.
Right. Get in line. Take a
And,
number.
I don't mean that to sound harsh. I am, again, really glad that we're generating ideas, but go do a little bit of legwork. It's kind of the
Yeah.
first part of thinking about a company or a
Yeah.
product, is really doing some research. There's all types of great places to do research. Fem Health Insights has a list of the like 2,000 companies. You can go to the FDA site and see if there's anything up for approval or under review.
Oh, that's a great
Might
idea.
be, yeah.
Well, we can put all those links in the notes as well for resources, for Teresa's resources
Yeah.
for people to go and check out. I love that. Thank you so much for taking all the time to share your journey and your stories. And we're going to keep an eye out for this second class that's coming through your I didn't realize it was going to be successful idea. And uh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
Okay, well, I don't know about you, but I'm completely motivated by what Teresa's doing and what these other companies are doing. Let's make some changes in pelvic health. I say that as my fist is in the air because I think it's important, and we don't think about these things sometimes. How important health is. Health care is important. It's a basic fundamental right, and I think this is the type of passion that we need from people to help change our world, to make us healthier and happier. Now, period, dot. In the next episode of Tiny Little Victories in 2 short weeks, and I want to apologize because I know I've been a little delayed in getting these episodes out because I haven't told you what's been going on in my life. And that is, I had a total knee replacement surgery, which pretty much kind of hobbles you for a bit. You can't really think, you're a little drugged up, motion is lotion, so you're trying to move around a lot. Although while I was laying there healing, I was thinking about all these great people and all these great episodes and all the people we need to be talking to. And that's where I came up with this next guest that's coming on in 2 weeks. His name is Leon Dalloway. He is the founder of the Gin Journey. He's also known as the Gin Boss. So we're going to talk to him about gin and alcohol and booze. Hurrah! So stay tuned in 2 weeks for the next episode, The Gin Boss on Tiny Little Victories.